let's go ahead and start with our opening prayers, and then we will do lead and repeat style for verse number 3, 4, and 5, and then we'll come back and chant all together. So it'll be the first time we'll chant all 5 verses together, and most likely it'll be the last, unless you practice at home, hint, hint. All right, so with that, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so now we'll jump to verse number 3 in Sadhana Panchakam. It starts with Vakyarthasya. Vakyarthasya vicharyatam Shruti Shiraf Paksha Samashriyatam Dustarkat Suviramyatam Shrutimatas Tarko Nusandhiyatam Brahmasmiti Vibhavyatam Aharahar Garvav Parityajatam Dehe Hammatirujyatam Buddhajanair Vadav Parityajatam. Now for verse number 4. Kshutvadhishcha chikitsyatam Pratidinam Bhikshaushadham bhujyatam Swadvannam natu yachyatam Vidhivashat Praptena santushyatam Shitoshnadi vishahyatam Natu vritha Vakyam samucharyatam Odasinyam abhipsyatam Janakripa Naishturyamutsrijyatam. Now verse number 5. Ekante sukhamasyatam Paratare Chetas samadhiyatam Purnatma susamikshatam Jagadidam Tadbadhitam drishyatam Prakarma pravilapyatam Chitibalan Napyuttarai shlishyatam Prarabdham tviha bhujyatam atha para brahmatmana sthiyatam. Okay, so now let's chant together from the beginning, and we'll chant all 5 verses together today. Ready? Vedo nityam adhiyatam tadudidam karma svanushtiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papogaf paridhuyatam bhavasukhe dosho nusandhiyatam atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam sangat satsu vidhiyatam bhagavato bhaktir dridadhiyatam shantyadif parichiyatam dridataram karmashu santyajyatam sadvidvanupasripyatam pratidinam tatpaduka sevyatam brahmaikaksharamarthyatam shrutishiro vakyam samakarnyatam vakyarthasya vicharyatam shrutishirah pakshas samashiyatam dustarkat suviramyatam shrutimatas tarko nusandhiyatam brahmasmiti vibhavyatam aharahar garvah parityajyatam deheham matirujyatam buddhajanair vadah parityajyatam Kshutvyaadhishcha chikitsyataam pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam swadvannam natu yachyatam vidhivashat praptena santushyatam shitoshnadi vishahyatam natu vrita vakyam samucharyatam Audasinyam abhipsyatam janakripa naishturyamutsrijyatam ekante sukhamasyatam paratare chetas samadhiyatam purnatma susamikshyatam jagadidam tatpadhitam drishyatam prakarma pravilapyatam chitibalanapyuttarai shlishyatam prarabdham tviha bhujyatam atapara brahmatmana sthiyatam. All right. So in verse number 4, actually, the end of verse number 3, we had seen the responsibilities of a sannyasa ashrama. What are they doing in the end stages of their sadhana, the most advanced stages? So we'd seen Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasnam. Nididhyasnam is not yet samadhi. Nididhyasnam is the practice of the vritti aham brahmasmi, with effort, with concentration, keeping a vigilant eye on things that can distract us from this highest state of practice. Now, what were some of the potential distractions that can come about in this later stages? That was listed in verse number 4. So we saw, as we are practicing the constant vritti of aham brahmasmi, other things, other layers that we have in terms of our tongue, our body, our speech, our mind, and our relationship with other people, all of these become important distractions we have to be mindful of and keep under check. So tongue, when it comes to, it's the biggest sadhana, even near the late stages, the tongue becomes the first important distraction. When it comes to hunger and disease, kshut and vyadi, they should be treated quickly and appropriately in a timely fashion. We have to take care of this body in a proficient manner so that it doesn't become a distraction. So how do we treat it? For hunger, bhiksha. For disease, aushadhi. So we accept food that has been given to us because of our prarabdha. As is written according to our fate, we shall receive food as Bhagwan decides. When it does come, santushya, with absolute contentment, I eat what is being given. This is the mindset of treating the cravings and responsibilities of the tongue. When it comes to aushadhi also, there's this level of samatvam. I don't care if the medicine tastes good. I don't care if the medicine is painful to take. Think about, insulin shots, or those that have to be on medication for diabetes when they have to literally prick themselves almost every other week. I don't know exactly how the dosage is, but it's painful to go through the treatment. Or in a more extreme case, chemotherapy. It is very harsh on the body, but it is a required treatment. Whatever it may be, with that samatvam, it's medicine. I take it, resolve it as best as I can. So with this in mind, let me make sure that I don't hanker after tasty food. Swadvannam natu yachetam. So that is dealing with the tongue. In the same manner, with the same attitude, I continue this application to the level of body. Whatever dualities I experience on the physical level, whether it's heat, cold, I am not going to be irritated by the pinpricks of life. The world is designed as such that it will be pairs of opposites. Nothing will ever remain the same, and I shouldn't constantly try to seek a comfort zone and protect that comfort zone. That is what I should give up. Learn to bear it. Then, of course, the tongue has a dual function, input and output. So the tongue comes back up again in this conversation. May I not utter a single useless word, and may I take care about not unnecessarily talking. Because at this point, at this stage of evolution, I am starting to withdraw from the world. I have done enough chewing on it to realize it has to do what it has to do, but my seeking of happiness is not there. If my ananda does not belong in the very nature of the world, I will just put it where it needs to be. I won't be over-involved. So in the same way, speech is my connection with the world outside. Unless it's required, I will not speak. When it is required, I shall speak efficiently, succinctly, enough to get the job done. Once I've finished that, may I withdraw quickly again. This quality of engagement and withdrawing is the key to speech. How well have we practiced this? So then we move from speech to now the mind. Even at the level of the mind, may I maintain a level of presence that is samatvam again. Now what is the pairs of duality? In the form of sukha and dukkha. And for the intellect, mana, avamana. Praise or criticism. In these levels of duality, I am udasina. I simply watch it and observe it. And finally, the last form of distraction that can come up is interactions with people. May I not unnecessarily get over-involved with whatever instance is happening in front of me. And here we termed it as kripa. Again, kripa typically translates as compassion, empathy, engagement, pity. But in this particular context, we're saying over-involvement in caring for others. Overindulgence is the key here. So the example that was given was Jada Bharata. He was the one who was a great king, had all the successes in life, and at one point, having chewed on the world, he came to the standpoint, I'm done with this, I've finished my responsibility, I want the hire. He's one of the best examples to see how he gave up that entire world. He was best qualified. And he came to Nididhyasnam, but his distraction was this overindulgence or over-involvement in a small incident. Kripa became his downfall. What happened? It was a baby deer that was drowning in the river. He got involved, saved the deer, but the key problem was he became attached to that deer. That kripa became an attachment. And so he It was a funny way of depicting it. One hand was on the japamala, the other hand was petting the deer. So in that way, he gave up everything. It was that one last attachment to that deer caused him to take up another birth, to exhaust that, and finally he was able to resolve all of his vasanas. So over-involvement. Now last time in one of the sessions, it didn't sit right? What do you mean I'm not supposed to be involved in life? If something were happening right in front of me, how can I not get involved? See, that's the thing. We are at an advanced stage. Our understanding of the mechanics of the world give us that level of samatvam. Bhagwan is playing out the prarabdha of everyone else. This is supposed to happen. Now, if I am supposed to be involved in that, I will see that Bhagwan will let me get involved, but I need to make sure that I'm not udasina. I am watching myself behave in the circumstances as prompted by Bhagwan. I am not involved. So that separation is what's really key at this stage of sadhana. The opposite is also true. The word is naishturya, criticism. The accusing, the criticism, the correction. Again, it's a level of involvement on the other side. So the fundamental attachment to people is what we need to dissolve. This is as things should be. I have finished my responsibility. This is no longer a distraction for me. Let the world play out the way it should be. We say Bhagwan's actions in the world is a leela. It's a play. So why not? Let it play out, because it will by itself keep itself in check. The world is filled with cycles. Things will rise. Things will be in its golden stage. It will also decline and it will restart again. That is the way Bhagwan has built this world. It will take care of itself. It will run on its own. My point is not to be sucked into the cycles. May I learn to stand apart and be stable. This is, again, a reminder of what our pursuit has been this entire time. So verse number 4 in summary are how to handle all of the distractions that can come up at the end stages near this, the 99.9% of nididhyasanam. So how do we push it to that 100%, that final polishing of this mind? This is when we see the culmination in verse number 5. In verse 5 we see, ekante sukham asyatam. Sit in a calm, quiet place that is in the corner of life. Not just a corner of the room, a corner in life. Because we become detached from it. Here, I am sukha. I am actually content and happy because of the evolution I've developed, that maturity and stability that I've gained. It is a sukham, not a dukkha. If we try to run away to the seat of meditation too early, this sukha will not be there. And so this is also what Bhagwan warned Arjuna in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. He said, I don't want to fight the war. I can't do this. I will cause harm. You know what? You say sannyasa is the greatest ashrama. You say that jnani is the greatest one. Let me be that. Fine, I'll go sit in seat of meditation. What's happening with your mind? Have you withdrawn? Have you completely matured out of your relationship with the world? If not, if you go sit in that corner, you're bringing troubles with you. It'll be dukkha asam, not sukha asam. So in a calm, quiet, peaceful, mature stance, may I take that seat. And what am I doing in that seat of meditation? Parataram chetas samadhiyatam. May my mind become absolutely absorbed in samadhi. Now remember I said 99.9 into 100%. In the beginning, it was effortful. I have to put in effort to keep my mind seated on one thought alone. But with enough practice, over time, it becomes easier and more natural. And it's almost now, without even effort, I am existing in the very thought of aham brahmasmi. So in a way, when we think about who am I, do I have to now put in effort to identify as this particular jiva? Not at all. In fact, even if I try to ask you, describe to me who you are, I can't even put that into words because it's so natural, it's so subjective that it's hard to put into objective words. So like that, we're switching our identity to who we truly are. It's this effortlessness, it's this unspeakable experience that is so natural and fundamental, I don't know how else not to be. This is that transition into samadhi. And it is so effortless that it is said that the Triputi Bhanga, Triputi means three things, the differentiation between the three are also dissolved. What is this differentiation of the three? Triputi here means the subject, verb, object. I take a sentence, a grammatical sentence. That's the easiest way for me to understand this. Subject, verb, object. The meditator who is meditating upon the object of meditation. So this is the jiva in nididhyasanam, concentrating on Brahman. So I've just given you the three distinctions. All of that dissolves. There is no more distinction between the doer, the doing, and the done, or done upon, the way that sentence works. Meaning, I am Brahman. The object upon which I'm concentrating on is also Brahman. So what exactly am I doing? Nothing. I am being me. Is there any subject? Is there any object? Is there any verb at that point? No, it's just a state of being. It's no longer a verb anymore. So in the English language, I don't know why, I have this affinity for grammar in this kind of analogy. When you have all forms of verbs, running, eating, sitting, smelling, thinking, shouting, laughing, crying, they're all active, but fundamental is being, then I can do. I have to be in order to cry. I have to be in order to eat. I need to be in order to sit or stand. When I remove all other actions and I remain, being becomes a noun and not a verb. I am. So in this way, conceptually, the triputi, three things, subject, verb, and object, by its nature dissolves into just a state of noun. There is nothing else. There is no doing. There is nothing else there. This is how natural that samadhi will be. Now, from this standpoint, that is what's happening inside. From within my own Atma, what is happening? This Triputi is dissolving. What about the world around me now? What happens to that? Let's not have this misconception that suddenly upon realization the world disappears. Nothing magical happens. The world continues to be the way it is. But my understanding has completely transformed. I see it in a whole different way. This the analogy that we see in our Shastras often is like seeing a mirage. So if you're driving down, Texas Road, here you'll definitely have a lot of examples here. In the heat of this August summer, on a flat road, as you're driving, you can't even tell where the white line and the yellow lines are anymore. Why? Because it's rippling. It literally looks like there's a river or a waving, sparkling surface of water with steam coming out of it. But when you're driving, do you panic and say, this car can't swim? Do you take that as real? No. You have no fears. You have no misconception of what's happening in front of you. You keep going. So in the same way, this world, you come to understand what it truly is. It's not real. It's not unreal. It is just a manifestation of that real substratum. Okay, so what do I mean by this? There's another example that's being taken here. Let's say we have this room of space, right? And I bring here a pot. All right, just for physical example, this is my pot. Let's say there's no water in it, but there's space inside and there's space outside, right? Can I say the spaces are divided? Sort of, not really. For the sake of conversation, I say it's pot space versus room space. But has it actually been divided? Not really. If I were to remove the pot altogether, it's almost like saying the pot space merged into the room space. Did anything really happen? No. the significance of the pot is removed, and I know the real nature of space. It was never divided. It was never distinguished. It has always been there. I know the reality of this space. So in the same way, when I look at the world of plurality and variations, I give names to the desk, I give name to backpack, I give name to you, I give name to someone else. There's constant variations. Variations are like that cup. It's just for the sake of identifying that I've given it a name and form. But if I were to truly understand the essence of things, it's like the existence within this book, the existence within this bag, the existence of this very room, the existence of these people has always been existence. I know the reality of what's there. So in that way, the world, Purnatma susamikshatam jagatidam tatbadhitam drishyatam. So Purnatma, the self within is that Purna. It is complete. And when we say complete and infinite, there are no limitations when it comes to space, time, and objects. Desha, Kala, Vastu, there are no such limitations. In terms of space, I am everywhere. In terms of time, I've always been and I will continue to always be. This is exactly what Bhagavan Krishna starts with in Bhagavad Gita. His very first statement or teaching starts in chapter 2, verse 11, where he says, Arjuna, you speak like the wise, but you grieve over that which is unwise. We have always been and we will always be. This Atma cannot perish. This Atma is never born. We are that highest substratum that will never go away. Why are you fearing over killing those that you should be in your duties? Fear not. We will always be here. Just the name and forms change, but the world is just an illusion. This substratum is real. So, Purnatma susamikshatam. I see that Purnatvam so very well. Susamiksha. So very well I see it. Jagat is then baditam. The illusion of the world dissolves. My understanding of it becomes absolutely clear. This is all just a projection. This is all just a modification of that existence. It will come, it will go. I'm not going to become attached to its name and form. I am its very existence. So in this way, our drishya of Jagat has changed altogether. Because of this, now, I have now attained the state of Jivan Muktaha. With this internal vision and external vision, nullifying all that is false, this is now the state of Jivan Muktaha. I am free and liberated from the limitations of being a Jiva. I am identified with my true nature as that highest substratum. There's no more that can bind me. But we still see a couple of lines. What happens now to a Jivan Muktaha? What's he like? This is, we will often see at the end of any text that's given, this description. What is this Mahatma like? Why does he talk? Why does he walk? Why does he behave the way he behaves? What is driving him now if he's already identified with that highest substratum? Existence does nothing. It is not a kartra. Chit, consciousness doesn't actively know things. It is knowledge itself. Ananda, there's no striving or attaining. I am already that bliss. Then why do we keep seeing Jivan Muktahas acting and behaving like any other human being? Can you explain that phenomenon to us after they've attained Jivan Muktaha? Why don't they disappear? So the last couple lines explains from our standpoint, when we look at a Jivan Muktaha, why do they continue to behave? Even Arjuna had asked, Sthita prajna ka bhashaha charati vak. This Sthita prajna, the one who is sthira in that knowledge, who is that Jivan Mukta, how does he walk? How does he talk? What does he do? So similar questions you will see come up. Those are also answered here. So here we see prakarma pravilapyatam chiti balat napyuttarai shlishyatam. Prarabdham viha bhujyatam. Each of those padas are three separate statements that we'll look at. They address vasanas and what is the existence of vasanas, what is the role of vasana, and what is the extinction of vasana for a Jivan Muktaha. So what do I mean by this? I have to take a step now and explain the concept of vasana a little bit. Look at those terms and then apply it to a Jivan Muktaha. So coming back to basics of law of karma. First, I have to start with my ignorance of my own true state. This is avidya. Avidya is a source of this projection of this individuality, and it is the source of this projected world. Ignorance is the root cause. Now, what am I ignorant of? My purnatvam, that completeness that I have. If I feel like I am not complete, what will be natural then? I want to be complete. I want something. What is the phrase? I want, I want, I want. So, avidya immediately leads to kama, desires. These desires bubble up, and because of my ignorance, I also turn in the wrong direction. I go outwards instead of going inwards. So I go to the world saying, I want this, I want that, I want to arrange my life in such a way that I feel fulfilled. That I feel that purnatvam by aggrandizing and creating a summation of all small things put together. So this was interestingly put in one of our, by our Swamiji. He's like, whenever someone asks you, how is your day? How's it going? Oh, it's good, it's fine. Why? How do we say that? We look at one day and we look at all the different incidences that made us happy or relieved in a sense. If there's a large quantity of happy moments throughout the day, I say, okay, I had a good day. If I had a lot of bad experiences and very few sukha moments, I say, oh, it's been a terrible day. See, in that arithmetic, what we're doing is taking small incidences of happiness, summing it together and seeing, okay, how much fullness do I feel? What's the problem in that? One, each of those incidences were not actually happiness. They were just relief from agitations of desires. So example, I want coffee, I need coffee, I need coffee, I need coffee. I had coffee. Just a relief, but it's not actual happiness. The other thing is those moments of relief will never last. So I'm trying to create infinite out of finite. It won't ever add up. Summation of finite things will never equal infinity. And this is why I'm constantly stuck in the cycle of kama, karma, and vasana. Okay, so what is this vasana now? Because of the fact that nothing ever feels complete, nothing ever feels satisfying, what do I end up doing? Having desires again. Okay, it didn't work. I need more. I need to try again. I need to hold on to it harder. I get anger to protect it. So we're constantly stuck in this cycle. With repeated thoughts, repeated actions, I'm creating grooves and habits in my psyche. Those grooves and habits are called as vasanas. So kama, karma, vasana, these habits prompt me to go back into the same kama, and I continue the cycle, and I'm constantly stuck. What was the root cause? Is it kama, karma, or vasana? What's the root cause? None of them. Avidya. We have to always remember that stem. So now when it comes to vasanas, there are other three words we need to pay attention to that are related to this cycle. When I perform an action prompted by my vasanas, that particular stage is called as agami karma or agami vasanas. I have just created the new action. There are results yet to come to me. So in the analogy of a bow and arrow, it's like someone has drawn that arrow back and just released it. Now, once it starts flying, there's momentum, but it hasn't hit its target yet. So in this way, the second stage is called sanchita. Sanchita means a hoard or collection of, meaning this karma has triggered something, it is in momentum, it is gathering its results, it is still pending, it is potential energy in a way. That is called as sanchita. Then finally, when that arrow hits, meaning the result has to come now, we now call it as prarabdha. These are the circumstances that are coming to me now in this very present moment. That includes, why do I have this particular body? Why am I not a snake? Why am I not a bird? Why am I not a Gandharva? Why am I not a Rakshasa? Why this Manushya body? Because this is the result of my past actions. This is my prarabdha. Then these circumstances and incidences I go through in my life. Why is it that I was born to that particular family? Why am I born to that particular mother or father? Why is it that I ended up in circumstances that had minimal resources or vastness of resources? Why is it that some people criticize me throughout my entire schooling and then later on I gain fame? All of these circumstances that come up are those sanchita karmas fructifying in its results. Those results are circumstances that are coming to me. That is called as prarabdha. Now, once prarabdha comes, what do I have to do now? Respond to it. So again, now I've come back to agami. So Puja Gurudev, in his style of speaking, he says that prarabdha is what comes to me. My karma is how I respond to it. So in other words, he also says, we are the architects of our own destiny. What I do today will release the arrow that becomes my prarabdha in the future. So I design my own future, come and meet my own results, and I have to respond again to that same destiny I've created for myself. This is how I have wound myself in my own fate. A very interesting concept. So this is what happens to a jiva who is living in ignorance. Now we're looking at this moment. Let's say time 0, I attained Jivan Muktaha. I've done all of my sadhana. I have gained the knowledge that I needed to, addressed avidya with knowledge, and come to understand I am not this jiva. What does that mean? Vasanas that are tied to that jiva is also dissolved. So we see here, first, the sanchita karma, the momentums that are still in the air for that jivan muktaha, they are completely resolved. They're dissolved. They're no more there. There's no more going to be more prarabdha that's going to be coming about. That is for their future. In the present moment, any action that a jivan muktaha performs is not out of ignorance, it is out of full knowledge. They have completely detached from the identity of a doership. They are no longer there. They're not the ones doing it. Therefore, the effects of those karmas are also dissolved. In fact, in Tattva Bodha, it mentions that any good karma that a jivan muktaha does, the results of those good karmas are actually benefit for those that are around them. Those that are bhaktas, sevakas, shishyas that are in good, they receive the punya of what that jivan muktaha does. So it doesn't come back to them, it comes to everybody else. Now, at the same time, if you don't have the right relationship with that jivan muktaha, you will also reap the papa of some experiences, pain, sorrow. But that goes to the others because there is no doer at this point. He becomes the agent of other people's prarabdha. So that is for the present moment. What about the results that have already fructified in the life of that jivan muktaha, their prarabdha? They have to then simply go through it. It has already fructified. It is already the circumstances they have to go through. The very body that jivan muktaha is carrying around is prarabdha. And whatever life experiences that we see them go through in their last lifetime as a jivan mukta, that is also their prarabdha. So for example, Puja Gurudev, he, after attaining jivan muktaha, when he came back into the world, interacting with those that criticized him, those that praised him, the food that he received, or even his own body, the way it was holding on by bare threads, right? His heart was probably, I think a quarter was functional at near the end of his life. All of that, he bore with it as a witness to his own prarabdha. It has to be gone through. Swami Tapovan Maharaj Ji also had throat cancer. He said, I don't need to do anything with it. If the body was meant to go through this cancer, it will. I am not suffering on the inside because I am not this body. I'm okay. But this body needs to go through what it has to. This is its final stages. Leave me. And it said in one of the last instances with Puja Gurudev was, there was a sevak who traveled with Puja Gurudev to take pictures of him. And in, I think, July, September of his last year of 1993, he told her, you cannot come to the Americas with me, but know that you will gain one picture out of me that everyone will remember you by. That was his last statement before he came to the US. Why? Because the very last picture she took was of Puja Gurudev right before his Mahasamadhi. So these Jivan Muktahas, because they're connected with that highest, they know all of time. They're able to recognize their own prarabdha of the body. So in a way, without saying, he's almost identifying, this is when my body will drop, because that is when its prarabdha will finish. That is the kind of perspective they have from within. So for the prarabdha, the identification with the body, mind, and intellect are gone, but the body, mind, and intellect are still there. They're still functioning because of that prarabdha. So the way to explain this is, it's like a fan, right? When the switch is on, there is power energizing the fan to keep going. Turning it on is like the action. The momentum it gains because of that energy is like sanchita. Then the wind that it produces is prarabdha. A Jivan Muktaha is the one that switches off. He turns off the ego, turns off the identification with all of that. What happens then? There's no more action that gives results. The momentum is all stopped. But what happens to the fan? It's still going. The results of the previous last energies, that momentum is still there. It has to slow down until naturally it comes to an end. So that is why we keep calling him as Jivan Muktaha. While the body is still enlivened, his perspective is still free. He is liberated even though his body continues. So Jivan Muktaha is that last possibility. Then, so we had seen Prak Karma Pravilapyatam Chiti Balan Napyuttarai Shlishyatam Prarabdham Tviha Bujyatam. They just have to experience the last bit of Prarabdha. Now this is the last statement of Sadhana Panchakam. What happens after that? Atha, thereafter, what happens? Brahma, Parabrahma Atmana Stiyatam. He is still established in that highest realm, and he is Brahman alone. This Jivan Muktaha with this body here finally is dropped. So we say that the death of that particular individual is not a death. We don't do antima samskara. We don't follow the same rituals as any other person that died. We say he attained Mahasamadhi. Mahasamadhi, he's already had Samadhi because he did Nididhyasnam, entered into Samadhi, and he's already experiencing his own true nature. But we say Mahasamadhi because even that prarabdha at that point has dissolved completely. He has dropped the physical entity. So here, I'll come back to that pot space, room space. The last body is also dropped. There is no more distinction. And we can't say that he merged into Brahman at that point. He was already Brahman. Again, there was no doing. Everything already is. So at this point, from our perspective, any external distinctions that we have about that individual, that is now disappears in front of us. The reason I kept saying in the beginning, these last descriptions is from our perspective looking at a Jivan Muktaha. Because how can we possibly explain what it is like from their standpoint? It doesn't matter to them if the world is there, if the body is there. In the presence or absence, it makes absolutely no difference to them because they are connected to an entirely different realm. We have no idea how to recognize even if it were told to us. Therefore, all of this is external observations from our point of view as to what a Jivan Muktaha is like. So here we say, Atha Parabrahmatmana Stiyatam. He is now completely immersed in the bhava of that Brahman, and the very last of his prarabdha has been dropped. So, this sopana, stepwise explanation of the journey of a sadhaka from beginning to end, has been succinctly packaged together and given as a roadmap to us. This was the last text that Adi Shankaracharya ji gave right before he attained Mahasamadhi, and it becomes the first text we take up when we start studying Vedanta, because we definitely need a roadmap. Where am I? What stage of evolution am I at? Where am I to go? What are all the pitfalls that can come that I should keep my eyes open for, and learn how to strategize as I go through? This is our one and only map. So I would say that as we continue with our studies, and I guess I'm speaking more to myself as well, but as we continue our studies, coming back to Sadhana Panchakam and lining up, what am I studying and where does it belong on my map? What am I supposed to gain by going through this? This is always a good text to come back to. Now, when I was reflecting a little bit on me being a brahmachari and applying myself here, I was looking through verse number 1, 2, and 3, and I'm like, we're still, raw. We have a lot of work to do when it comes to our own self-improvement. In terms of, this is my weird transition into summarizing what we were looking at in Sadhana Panchakam. So very quickly, in like 5 minutes or so, let's see this roadmap all together. Because week by week, especially with S1, it's been every other week if you haven't been following along. So we remember tidbits in between, but can we put all of the pieces together so we can see that full map on the road? So let's see this one by one in a quick summary of this Sadhana Panchakam now. So Brahmacharya Ashrama starts with Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. May I study the Vedas always, and more importantly, to understand the Karma Kanda portions of it, because it defines what do I have to do in life. What is a proper way to approach life, and what am I to do, and why am I to do it, and for what purpose? This has to be understood well before we begin, otherwise we're lost in the woods of karma. But once it has been understood, we immediately go to Grihastha Ashrama. Here, all that has been prescribed, tat uditam karma svanushtiyatam. May I perform those actions well and as perfectly as I can. And I have to perform them as niyata karma. Niyata means always, but it's made of two things, nitya and naimittika. Nitya is daily routine things I cannot give up, like taking care of this body, handling my daily routines, taking up the responsibility of my family, friends, community, wherever I am. On the day-to-day basis, whatever is my responsibility, may I fulfill it diligently, efficiently, and effectively. Occasionally, life will throw some curveballs, and there will be special circumstances that come to us that will require us to take up certain responsibilities for that moment. So if there's a celebration at home, there's a death ceremony at home, in the world there's a crisis that happens, there's some event that happens, something or the other will occur. What do I have to do to respond and take responsibility in those things? So those put together is called niyata karma. This is what I have to do. While I'm doing it, what is my attitude? This is when karma yoga comes into play. May I, tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi. Apachitihi is, may I offer it as a service or puja, a worship to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, you have given me this body, you have given me these responsibilities. That is a gift you have offered me. May I take the very work I have and offer it back to you as a gift of my offering. And in this loving manner, I sublimate my actions to divinize it more and more. Then, those are the things, that is the attitude I have with the responsibilities I should be doing. Now there are things where, based on desires, kamye matistyajatam. There are actions I want to perform because I'm driven by my desires. What am I to do with that? Slowly and effectively, through dharma, learn to overcome them. So one simple example we had taken was, if I've agreed for money, I need to have it, I need to have more, I need to enjoy it, slowly I transform that by practicing dhanam. May I learn to share the wealth that I've earned. Earn well put in all your 100% effort. Work the system, learn, be complete in your striving for this wealth. But once you do, learn to share as well. So this yajna spirit, which is the most fundamental thought given in chapter 3 of Gita, works on this. How do I sublimate the kamas that I have? Sublimation means give it an elevation, give it in such a way that my attitude of attachment thins. So we'll, maybe at some point when we see chapter 3 in more in depth, what is this yajna spirit and how does it transform our desires so that it no longer bites us? This is how I get rid of kamya karma, parityajyatam. Then, papogaf paridhuyatam. Whenever I have made mistakes along the way, done things I shouldn't have, may I be vigilant enough not to do them again. And if I know how to correct those mistakes, specifically to the mistake I've made, may I take up those actions. If I've lied, may I correct it by telling the truth. If I have harmed somebody, may I apologize and surrender. If there's specific actions to take recourse, let me do it. But if I don't know exactly how to correct it, then may I come to Bhagwan and ask for forgiveness for the things I have done. May I pray for His grace and guidance to overcome that. We may not know the way, but Bhagwan will show. I surrender upon Him. So prayer becomes a really important aspect here, not for begging, but for asking for forgiveness and guidance. So if we look at any prayer we have, we always ask, may I have jnana, vairagya, shraddha, bhakti. May I continue to develop this. Bhagwan, I can't do it myself. I need you to help me develop these qualities. That becomes the form of prayer. Then once we deal with nitya karma, kamya karma, and prayashchitta karma, when these three types of karmas are resolved, what happens now? The manas, the heart, becomes purified, and we now have a clear head. We have a clear head to start seeing what is the true value of the world around me. Is it giving what I need? And this is called as viveka. And it is specifically bhava sukhe doshonu sandhiyatam. In this world of seeming sukha, bhava sukha, may I start seeing the doshas in it. If I am striving for materialistic wealth, thinking that that will give me happiness, is it really giving me happiness? Bhaja Govindam will bust all of these theories really well. One example was, when you have wealth, see how family comes gathering around you. When you lose wealth, see what happens to them. When someone says, oh, you're looking very pretty today, are they commenting on you or the clothes? Who's really beautiful? So Bhaja Govindam is a real, ego buster that way. Come to see the doshas of our misconceptions of where sukha really is. This is what viveka is all about. Once I have chewed on this really well, all the rasa in the world goes away, and what do I want to do? Spit it out. Now I want to hunt down the real source of sukha. Where is it? Then we come to that state of atmecha vyavasiyatam. I really want to seek sincerely that atma, which is the real source of my happiness. Show me that. That desire is awoken within us. It reminds me of Vivekanandaji's famous statement, arise and awake. This is that moment. Arise from the depths of our own jiva dukkha and awaken to that highest reality that is invoked within us. When we feel this, we know we have done grahastha ashrama well. At this point, we have developed chitta shuddhi, the purity of mind, and this seeking for that highest, this mumukshutvam intensifies. We know that grahastha is complete and has done its job. Now we enter vanaprastha. It starts with the last line of verse 1, Nija grihat turnam vinirgamyatam. By the way, it's funny, I have to spend like 10 minutes on the summary of verse number 1. Why? Because there's so much work to be done here. So in this roadmap, we may feel that the ending stages, the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, it seems a little out of grasp. That's because we have a lot of work to do between Brahmacharya, Grahastha, and into Vanaprastha. These 3 stages is where we have to put 99% of work. After that, it's like, I call it like the diving board. You have to put in a lot of muscle energy to bring that board down, but once you do it well, it springs on its own and you get projected into the highest states of advanced sadhaka. So it's okay, we have to spend so much time on it. And coming back and reflecting at least on verse 1 will do a lot of benefits for our own sadhana. So then quickly to move on to catch up to what we saw today was, in Vanaprastha, immediately we leave home. Nijagrihat turnam vinirgamyatam. Home is comfort zones. Home is a life we had built based on my ignorance of what the world, that the world will give me sukha. That particular home I leave. I now venture off into the wilderness of sadhana and start my journey to climb higher and higher. So I leave behind my comforts. Along this journey, satsang becomes the most important backbone to rely on. I have just awoken this spark of wisdom. To keep that flame alive, I need to surround myself with those that have the same intention of purpose, that are also supportive in this pursuit. This satsang becomes very vital in the beginning. It's like when you have a small flame, you put a little shield around it so that it doesn't get blown out. Satsang is that little shield. But once that shield is there, I can't give up my effort. I have to continue. So this is when I take up upasana. Upasana is puja, japa on saguna form of Bhagwan. Through constantly remembering Bhagwan in his name, his form, his actions, and his essence, I increase my bhakti to him. There, I continue to further purification, but more importantly, I gain concentration. This ability to hold on to one thought alone. Then, along with that, I develop the qualifications for jnana. Shanti, Danti, Uparati, Samadhana, Titiksha, and Shraddha. To control my external senses, Shanti. To control the mind that determines those, dictates the senses, this is Danti. Then when both the mind and senses are naturally at rest, it is a full control, Uparati. When it is invoked when necessary and put back into place when necessary, there is a sense of samadhana, this equipoise balance, never thrown off by anything that happens in the world outside. And when the world throws its ups and downs, I just bear it with detachment, titiksha. Why? Because my eyes and mind and bhava and purpose is in shraddha to the highest goal. So Shanti, Danti, Uparati, Samadhana, Titiksha, and Shraddha. All of this is the responsibilities of Vanaprastha Ashrama. So this is not retirement. In fact, this is more effort at this point. May we quickly come to Vanaprastha when our intellect can still handle this kind of effort and concentration. Please don't say that Vanaprastha is after I turn 60. As soon as we can, when our faculties are still strong, may we come to this point of maturity. Then we have absolutely developed ekagrita, that single pointedness of the mind. At this point, we give up all other karmas and upasanas that we had been holding on to as support. Dridataram karmashu santyajyatam. So things like Gayatri Mantra or any other upasanas we had taken, we've matured out of that, so therefore we give it up. Then we seek Guru, serve his feet, keep his guidance on Omkara Upasana now. Nirguna Upasana. What is that substratum without any form? Then I take recourse to the Upanishads, specifically Vedanta, the end portions of the Vedas. In the beginning, when we said Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam, we were looking at Karma Kanda on how to act. But now all that has been done, we come to the end portions of Vedanta that tell us, what was all of this for? What have I been reaching for? What is the nature of that? So in Shravana, may I listen well to the Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyata. May I listen well to that. Then I process it through Mananam. Then Vakyarthascha Vicharyatam. I sit and study. May I hold on to the statements and facts of the Upanishad. May I then look to the other darshanas, not to get lost in them, so dustarkat suviramyatam, but use them to strengthen my standpoint, to be able to be firm in what the Upanishad said. When it says things like Atma is one, other darshanas will say Atmas are two. How can I resolve that conflict? I come back to Vedanta again and follow its logic. So 3 steps. Hold on to the standpoint of the Upanishad, look to the other darshanas for questions to address, and come back to Upanishad using that logic to resolve those doubts. Because we don't know what questions to ask. These darshanas have thought out well, so we use that as ways to strengthen our understanding. Doubts are removed in Mananam. Then finally, Nididhyasnam is when, even though I know well, even though I know clearly, I still have habits that I need to overcome. So Nididhyasnam is to remove erroneous habitual thought patterns. And here, Aham Brahmasmi is practiced upon again and again. And then we've now come back full circle to where we started our satsang today. While I'm practicing Nididhyasanam, there are so many distractions that come along the way. Tongue, body, speech, mind, and relationship with others. When I have made sure I don't fall to these things, I come to the ultimate seat of meditation. Turn my Nididhyasanam, which is with effort, into effortlessness of samadhi. When it's so effortless, even that subject, verb, object within me dissolve. The world outside becomes just an illusion. I am not fooled by it anymore. And I am now firmly seated in my own very true state. The world sees me continue to function, but that's only the leftovers of my prarabdha. And at the very end, even that shall be dropped, and I shall fully merge into my own true nature. So all of this put together is our map. So hold on to this. Anytime you encounter any sadhanas that come along the way, see where it falls and see how it will help us grow. So I have come to love Sadhana Panchakam after having studied this. I hope you have also come to appreciate Guru's guidance. We cannot be indebted to them for what they are giving us and what they're showing us. So I thought, for the rest of this semester, let us express our gratitude for Guru by understanding Guru Stotram. So that is the next text we will take up for our satsangs. This will start next week. Yeah, we will have satsang I'll be here 2 weeks for S1, but I will be starting Guru Stotram on the other session. So keep an eye on YouTube. We will have books available for you, so come prepared for that. And let us take up our appreciation for Guru for the rest of the semester. So with that, again, thank you so much for this opportunity for Vichara and Satsang. So with that, Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi